All right, well, yes, thank you for coming in. This is my talk, Sneaky Ways to Integrate GenAI. All right, so whenever I go to a talk, I'm always worried that I won't get the slides. So if anybody wants the slides, this is a QR code. I know right now you're not sure if you're gonna want the slides, okay? I understand that, all right? This is kind of an investment, but I'll have the links later. It's in the bottom left. Anyway, if you realize halfway through that, oh, this is not too bad. Okay, get the slides. Okay, so who is here? First question is that, so GenAI is driving the next wave of business, right? This is why this conference exists. This is why we are all here for this conference, to learn more about GenAI. And a question I've been asking myself and asked maybe a year and a half ago is, how can I be a part of it, right? Because I am doing web development, AI is coming, I don't want to get left behind, I don't want AI to replace me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But there was a problem, right? And who was here for Ben's earlier talk today about prioritizing and evaluating Gen? Yes, okay. So his was all about creating huge enterprise level apps, right? And all of the different steps, those probably like 15 steps that you have to go through in order to be successful. And my company or myself, I wasn't building those kind of huge apps, yet I still wanted to be involved in GenAI, right? Because I'm not, there are all these kind of full-scale GenAI apps that I'm talking about. So chat bots, obviously starting with ChatGPT, but then pretty much anything else, you want to be able to chat with your data or those sorts of things, co-pilots, AI summaries. If we've used Amazon, right? I don't even look at the reviews anymore. I just read the summary of the reviews and then decide if I want to move forward with it. Gmail summaries, those sorts of things, right? So those are the full-scale applications. I'm not going to build anything close to those, yet I still want to be part of GenAI. So that's where the sneakiness comes in with GenAI, because the way I see it is that it bridges the gap between full-scale AI and what I'm able to build. And the idea is that it's practical and it's an achievable way to integrate AI there, okay? So I want to spend the rest of my time here kind of describing that a little bit more and really focusing on demos and examples of how we can use AI in order to inspire us or give us ideas for how we can apply those ourselves, okay? But before that, can I get everyone to stand up? I want to get everyone to stand up, okay? Some of you are already standing. So here's the deal. It's after lunch. I was yawning, all right? I was tired. So what we're going to do is we're going to warm ourselves up by doing 10 squats, just like this together, okay? All right, and if you don't want to, you totally don't have to, it's fine, but just to get the blood flowing. And since it's software, let's start 0 indexed, okay? So we'll start with 0. All right, here we go, ready? 0, 1, yep, we're doing it. 2, 3, 4, halfway, 5, little lower, 6, there we go, 7, almost there, 8, 9, and I got all of y'all. I got you. All right. You went over, okay? There's some errors happening in your century right now. Okay. So just to formally introduce myself, my name is Ben Ilegbodu. I am a Christian, a husband, and a father. Here is my family. We are actually from Houston, but about 2 months ago, we had the freakiest snowstorm ever. And this is at our house, right? So it was maybe 20 degrees or something and snowed. It stayed on the ground. You would think we were in Canada or something like that. It was so cold. So that's my wife, Rashida, next to me. Our oldest daughter, Simone, next to her. Our middle daughter, Avery, she is 8. And our son, Asher, he just turned 6. And we live outside of Houston there. So I'm a senior software engineer at Netflix. I work on the UI of the TV application. But I'm on the developer productivity side of things. So think about ESLint, Babel plugins, Webpack, all those stuff, CI. That's kind of the part that I work on. And I'm also GDE in web technologies, now focusing in AI there. Okay, so just to get started, the way I think about GenAI, I think about kind of 6 flavors of GenAI. So across, horizontally, I think about it in terms of the way that we see it. So that's all of the pre-generated content. When you land on an application, the experience, pre-generated. Then on the bottom, we have all of the interactive types. So you're using it, GenAI is doing stuff, it's doing stuff. And then vertically, I have the different types, the different interactions. So you have content being generated, or it's making a decision for you, or at the end, it's conversational. So I'm gonna focus on the first 4 because conversational GenAI is inherently not sneaky, right? There's all this interaction. You have to build all of this thing inside of it. So I'll be focusing on those first 4, right? And just to be clear, again, about what sneaky is, the idea is that it enhances our existing applications, our existing workflows, right? We're not building something brand new. We already have something, and now how can we inject AI into that? For the goal of being delightful for our users, right? We're not just doing it for fun. We're not just doing it to get more funding or anything like that, right? It's to make something easier or faster, more delightful for our users. And the hope is that it's not too big of a lift for us to build it, right? We're not gonna spend 8 engineers, 8 months to build this thing. Hopefully it's something that can happen quickly there. So let me start with the first one. So this is content that is pre-generated. And the goal is that when they get to the application, there's already content there that was been AI generated. So I want to show you this app that I'm currently working on. It's called CodeMata. It's basically your general developer tools thing, right? So I can come in here and get CSS minified or get CSS formatted, that sort of thing. So I can come in here and say, this is a line, and I don't know, color is yellow, and let's do that. So then I come in and I minify it, and then voila, it minifies it, all right? So that's nothing fancy. None of you clap, so I know it's nothing amazing, right? But here's the deal, like that is the extent of the application, right? It's just that. But if I want anybody to find it when they go to Google, I have to provide SEO information for it, right? So all of this other text here is AI generated there. And when you land on the page, it generates that content for you. So this description up above, it's all this fancy thing about wanting to minify, how to use the minifier, features, like all of this stuff is generated, auto-generated, right? So if you look on the left, I have all of these different tools. I'll have more. Maybe I want to have more sections on the site. It's going to be a lot of work for me to have to maintain all of that content and update that content. So now, as a developer, I'm able to speed things up. For SEO, there's all the content there as well. And some of this will be actually helpful for the user as well. Like, why use CSS? What is CSS? Like all of these kinds of things are on there, right? So you land on it, you have this information. And the reason I call this sneaky as well is because the user may not even know, right? They'll just come in here, think that I spent hours and hours handcrafting all of this content for them, whereas no, I just made one call and it's right there for them there. So this is the first group, right? It's AI generated content that's ready to use. So like I mentioned, it's got the SEO content there. It's a quick win for me. It enhances the existing flow, right? I already have the application to do the minification or the transformations, but it's added there, and then it just seamlessly into the flow. So that's for content applications. I'm sure you could use it for all kinds of other ones. Other domains, like imagine we had images on there. I could have an image analyzed, and then it could generate the alt text, for instance, and that's used in a lot of areas. Product descriptions as well. I've had a shopping app in the past where I had to kind of come up or algorithmically come up with descriptions in order for them to seem unique across, but I could use AI for that. Subject lines for emails, that sort of things, right? So if you have experiences that you are building that are kind of in this vein, I hope you can start thinking about how you can leverage AI to do that. Okay, so that was the content, and you land on the page or land in the application, and the content is already there, right? Let's look at another example here. So this app is a AI-assisted writing, okay? So I come to this page and I have to fill out this form. I'm sure most of us have had to do peer reviews, right, where we have to write something about our coworkers. And I always get writing block, right? I don't know what to say, what should I focus on, that sort of thing. But here at the bottom, it mentions the things that I should focus on, areas of improvement, etc. Or I have some other examples here. So you go to a conference, you want to write about what the conference is. Imagine you land on that experience, and it says, focus on key takeaways and networking opportunities, etc. So this already is the previous example. I land on it, it has content. But it becomes interactive when I come in here, I'll turn on real-time feedback, and I'll start typing. So Ben is an amazing coworker, okay? He is fantastic at speaking publicly. Okay, right? So we can see that it's already starting to check off things here, and but he tends to talk too much. There we go. So hopefully if this updates, yes, it has the areas of strength, it has areas of improvement. It talks about my communication skills. I don't know if it's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. And I could keep typing and it will fill out if I talk about key accomplishments, teamwork and collaboration, and then finally the submit button would highlight there, right? So the nice thing about this is not only did it tell me what I should talk about, it started giving me feedback that what I am talking about is good. So now I'm able to, as a reviewer, or as a reviewer, be able to make sure that I've given quality feedback. But as managers or whomever wants the feedback, they're able to know that they've gotten enough stuff besides Ben is a great coworker, right? Because that's where I would have stopped. Yes, so this example there. So the nice thing is real-time suggestions, right? And it's a lot faster for me too. As a reviewer, I can get through it a lot faster, and it's contextual, which is nice. So that's the delightful experience about it. It's not just general bullet points, but specific to the application at hand. And I'm sure you can start thinking about ways that you can use this as well. If you're writing social media posts about a blog, it could take in that information about the blog post and start guiding you into things you should explain. All kinds of other kind of related things where we need to generate content there. Okay, so now we talked about the two content ones, right? We talked about it being pre-generated. We talked about it being interactive. Now let's jump to decision-making, right? That is pre-generated here. So I've got another example I'm calling pre-filled forms. So imagine this conference had accounts, user accounts, right? So every time you go to the conference, each time, it keeps track of the talks you went to, your email, that sort of thing, right? We don't have that yet here at ATO, but imagine that we did. So this is your information here, your account profile. your job title, things I'm interested in, so that's what Jane is interested in, and past conferences talks that she has gone to. So imagine that exists, right? And now she wants to actually register for this ATO AI 2025. So imagine she clicks this button, it goes to a new page, it loads, and then she lands on the page after it's loaded, and this is what it looks like, right? So this is her registration form. So those first 4 fields, name, email, job title, company, those are just taken from the database, right? That's stuff we've done for many, many, many years there. But the next 3 are the interesting parts, right? So this is where the AI is coming in. So now she's trying to figure out, well, what talks do I go to for this conference, right? And AI is able to pre-seed some talks that she could go to, right? Now, I made up a whole list of talks. These aren't the talks here. But she could still go in and add new ones, like something about PWAs, or she can decide that, you know what, Terraform is terrible, so I'm going to remove Terraform, right? So she could still go in and make changes. It's not defined for her, but it's suggestions and kind of jump-starting her having to fill out. And it might show her things that she didn't think that she would even want to see or hadn't heard of. And similarly, this section about the goals for the conference, it's automatically generated. I'm looking to enhance my skills in cloud computing and artificial intelligence because it used the interests that she had mentioned earlier in her profile. And then lastly, there's this meet and greet section, like which speakers would she like to meet? And there's this whole list of speakers. They have bios, et cetera, that she could fill in, right? So she landed on it, had all this information, fantastic. It was already there. It's kind of sneaky. Does she know how those things were figured out? But it also accelerates and helps her in registering there, okay? So if you think about it, like pretty much, I would say 90% of applications are some sort of form that you're filling out. Like we doll it all up, we make a radio button list look like fancy buttons, and we have modals and all that stuff, but in the end, you're just inputting data, right? So this type of experience could be used in a whole lot of different areas that I've listed here, government, health, and things like that. And the goal is that it just reduces effort with this implementation, right? But you could use that for any kind of decision making. It's deciding content for the user. So product recommendations are another example. Imagine you have to follow up marketing emails, like you could use all of these sorts of things to make decisions to accelerate the work there. Okay. Fantastic. Okay, so now decision making and interactive, right? So as we talked about content that's pre-generated, then content that is interactive, then we just talked about decision making that is generated, pre-generated. All right, now let's talk about decision making that's interactive, okay? So I didn't build a demo for this. Actually, hold on. Didn't build a demo of this, but it's the Nike website, okay? So I'm searching for basketball shoes, right? Because I love playing basketball. But does Nike know what kind of basketball shoes do I want, right? I could want high tops, I could want low tops, I could want certain colorway, like all these different things that could be interesting to me, or I may not even know what I'm looking for as well. So let's say, I'm on the site, I start scrolling down on the site, and I hover over these Sabrina 2s, because they actually look pretty cool. And the Nike is now tracking that, he hovered over this. He scrolled past those other ones, so he's not interested in that. I clicked in to another Sabrina 2. I really like her shoes, apparently. I click into this one, I look at it, I play around with the colors, let me see what colors there are, etc. And then I click through. So it could now start collecting that information, where I scrolled, where I hovered, right? And then can feed that into the model. All this information about what I've done, and it can now return back suggested shoes to show. So right now, the Nike site, you see it has 99 suggestions. They're all just on the page. So I'm just scrolling to get to all 99. But instead, imagine that it used a windowing technique such that not all of them are there. So I now start scrolling down, and it's showing stuff that has been recommended based upon what I was doing above. So the idea is I'm scrolling down, and I'm actually getting more relevant information, more relevant shoes that I like. So specific colors, specific shoes, that sort of thing. So we feed it data, it gives us back data, and we're able to make decisions based on that. There. So what's nice about that, right? It's interactive, so it's changing as we're using it, but it's also making decisions that, honestly, we probably wouldn't build into our experience on our own. But from the user's perspective, right, they can't tell the difference. They're just scrolling and they're seeing more shoes. We're not building a huge AI application, right? It's still the same application, but we're injecting in some AI experiences in there. So it's seamless into the user experience, right? It helps them in discovering and exploring new things that maybe they wouldn't see. And ultimately, the goal is that it has an increased ROI, right? Increased engagement. People are clicking through, finding the things, and ultimately buying as well. And another kind of example I was thinking of is if you have a project management system and you have put in this information, it can now guide us into what the next steps should be based upon what we've done so far there. Perfect. Okay, so those are the 4 at a high level, trying to show you examples. Hopefully your brain is thinking. Ideally, you're like slacking your coworkers right now, telling them what ideas you have, and then you put the phone back so you can pay attention some more. But let's look a little bit at the tech here, okay? So at the end of the day, the way that it works is that it's based upon prompts, right? And the way I like to organize the interaction with the assistant is in 2 pieces. There's the identity of the assistant, which is the system prompt, and then there is the user prompt, what the user is actually asking. So in the identity, I mentioned, hey, you're a helpful writing assistant. This is for that app. Here's your task. So I tell it what it needs to do. You're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing that. And I like to write them in bullets. Basically, I write it in Markdown, effectively. Instead of writing paragraphs, I found that works a lot better. So analyze the user's message or their writing in real time, generate the checklist that we saw, those little pill buttons, generate that and check them off when they are done with it, right? And then usually at the bottom, I'll give examples of what it would look like. You know, it only needs to be 3 words max, that sort of thing, to help guide it. And then as I'm using it, it'll start doing things incorrectly that I don't like, and then I give it a bunch of do nots at the end. So I didn't have space to put those, but do not do this, do not do that, do not hallucinate, do not do that. It's kind of like I'm treating it as my children, but do not, okay? And then there's the prompt side, right? So this isn't a chat, right? So the user is not directly talking to it. They're doing some action, and then I am making the prompt on their behalf. So in this case, they did type in the writing thing. I package that up, put it in a user message as JSON, and then send that over there. So that's the main part. That's what you end up spending most of your time in terms of the quality of the AI interaction. And then there's the actual code. So this is a snapshot of the code that I wrote. I write in JavaScript or in TypeScript, so there's there. But OpenAI also has a Python SDK as well if you write in Python. So essentially how these work these sneaky applications work is that they are one-off chat messages. So there's the two messages. There's the system instruction that I talked about, and then the user message there. But the nice thing is that this is not just a normal chat where I'm getting back paragraphs of text. Instead, I tell it the format that I wanted to give it back to me. The JSON schema ultimately is what the structured output ends up being. So I say, give me back the checklist or an object of checklist items, which have the label and done, Boolean or true or false there. So it's as if I'm interacting with an API that I would have built, but it's the assistant being smart there. So just overall, again, sneaky GenAI is supposed to be helpful, okay? That's one quality of it for the user. It's supposed to be practical as well. So we're not building something new. We're injecting it into an existing user experience, okay? It's supposed to be accessible to us as developers, right? We're able to implement it even without having machine learning experience. And as a result, or in order for it to be like that, it has to be simple for us to implement, hopefully with a few calls there. In the end, the work becomes around like data storage or all the normal things that we use when we're building in applications in order to interact with the assistant. And hopefully these sneaky applications work across all of our different sectors of applications that we're building. And then the last one, which is actually the most important part to me, is that it's empowering to us, right? I want all of us to be able to stay on the cusp, right? This is why we're at this conference, to know how to leverage AI in our applications. We want to be familiar with how the OpenAI SDK works. We want to know what real augmented generation looks like. We want to know what function calling is. Like all those things, we have to have experiential knowledge with them. So hopefully these applications can help us with that. So I have some resources there. It'll be better if you get the slides, right? And you can click those links. But I did want to highlight the last two there, function calling and retrieval augmented generation, in that we sometimes need to give the assistant context on our data, right? So all the examples I used was just using like general model information, but let's say for the peer review one, we need to include past stuff that I said or important things that the company once said. Anything like that, we can use function calling or retrieval or RAG in order to see the model with that information. So they're more advanced topics. They end up being simpler when you put it into the code. It's just harder to think about, or more effort to think about there. Okay, so here's what I want. I want you guys to do 3 things, okay? When you leave, I want you to start exploring, okay? Today is Tuesday, right? You have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to come up with something, all right? I really want you to think through what you could use this for so that Monday at stand-up, you're making a pitch for an idea that you have, okay? Deal, I want you to let me know, all right? So it doesn't have to be huge, right? But it'll have a big impact, hopefully, for conversions for your teams. And of course, what I want you to do is be sneaky so that you can delight your users, okay? So I really appreciate the time, appreciate everybody coming in to listen. If you've got any questions, I won't have time after this, but feel free to chat here. I'll be here for the rest of the conference. You can find me in the congested hallway over there while we're trying to get through. I can stop and talk, and we can block the hallway for everybody else. Totally fine. But you can find me on Twitter, VinMVP. My website, I have lots of videos of other talks that I've given, blog posts there, and all of the slides or all of the code is up on my GitHub. And with that, thank you very much. Appreciate it.